and salutations, listener. It is I, Eric J. Chuckie, joined as always by my distant cousin, the boy.
Hey.
We're not.
I don't think that's true.
No, we're not related. This is the Two Nerds Podcast. Before we get started, hit that there thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. But mostly the thumbs up button. Comment if you feel like it. Go to the Super Blizzard Bandcamp page. Shining with Autos, Let's Get Hardcore is our theme music. So we're talking Rumble. And I played him for a first one the other day. And I...
You're so funny!
Rumble is the champion in League of Legends, as well as the WWE Pay-Per-View that we are here to discuss today. What an interesting series of events.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to describe it.
We don't usually do this for the Rumble, so or for pay-per-views rather, I'm not gonna bother taking the time that we usually take for this, but if you want a spoiler-free review of the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, go watch it. Not in that way like Guardians of the Galaxy, oh my god, go watch it, but I don't know you, listener, so go watch it and you figure it out for yourself. It doesn't feel long, and it's on the network, and the network was pretty solid tonight.
And also, if you haven't done it on the network, it's fucking $9.99.
Yeah. Going into this pay-per-view, I think we've watched maybe one Raw.
We watched 20 minutes of a Raw since the last pay-per-view.
The last pay-per-view had us really disappointed, really not looking forward to the way things were working out. And I have kept up with the results. I have read what's been going on.
I haven't so much.
I was aware of what feuds were happening and some of the ways they were building things. No, it's not as good as seeing the real thing, but I was so discouraged by the product WWE left us with.
It was aggressively boring to me. Aggressively, alright, listener, a little insight into the tuners process. Normally, if we watch a Raw, what will happen is we'll turn it on, Spork will do other things, I'll watch it, I'll fast forward to the parts I don't care about. About 20 minutes in, I realized that I didn't care about anything that could possibly happen. So I just turned it off. And that was the only time I mustered up enough energy to even turn it on in the first place.
I mean, what really cemented for me that this was not going to be a fun cycle to watch was the swift return of the Authority.
I realized afterwards, someone pointed out to me, a friend, and I realized they were completely correct. The whole Authority being out gimmick, that was just a reason for them to have the holidays off. I think they left right before Thanksgiving, came back right after New Year's. They just wanted the holidays off. Had nothing to do with booking well. They just wanted the holidays off.
And you know what? That's fine, but drag it out a bit.
Take till February. Maybe March. You got time? It's not like wrestling's going to be over soon.
Yeah.
Then again, if your fan reaction is anything to go by.
Please.
WWE fans, I feel like this is a good aside. Because if you checked at the social networking buzz on the Rumble at all, it's overwhelmingly negative. To an absurd degree. And here's the upshot of it, listener. I really don't think it's deserving. I think this was a perfectly fine pay-per-view. One thing happened in the pay-per-view that pissed the entire internet off. And we'll get to that.
We will. And I should let you know as well, listener, that typically we go match by match and really delve into the performance and all that.
Most of these matches are so paint by numbers, it's not worth it.
No, I mean, there's the two big matches, the Triple Threat and the Royal Rumble, that we're actually going to talk about a little bit more in depth.
And that's not to say that the paint by numbers matches were bad. They aren't. They were all pretty good. Even the Divas match was nothing to sneeze at.
I wasn't interested, but...
I wasn't interested, but it wasn't bad.
I suppose you're right there. But, right, so going into this, I wasn't looking forward to this pay-per-view. I had a long day at work. I didn't want to come home and watch 3 hours of shitty pay-per-view and then cry about it for an hour. I was not looking forward to that being my day. And then last week, through the pipeline, came the news that John Cena won the triple threat match because there was a local, I don't know if it was a house show or if it was just where they were taping Raw somewhere, but their advertisements were talking about WWE Champion John Cena. And they've done this before. They did it with CM Punk, actually, years ago. One of our local wrestling ads was like, come see WWE Champion CM Punk.
I think we're like, oh, I guess Punk's taking the title at the pay-per-view.
Yeah. But, this was the reverse. I was excited to see Punk become champion at that point. Because I don't think he'd had it yet.
I don't remember.
Or he was winning it back or something. And here, John Cena winning the triple threat is about the worst move to make. Now, I've made my peace with the fact that someday John Cena will at least match, if not eclipse, Ric Flair's legendary 16-time World Heavyweight Championship reigns. I don't like it, but I've made peace with it. I'm an adult. Sometimes you have to swallow bitter pills for the younger generation. And you know what? Boys said this several times throughout the week. John Cena is today what Ric Flair was back then.
It's just facts. He is.
Yeah. And I might not like it, but you know what? Records get shattered all the time. That's what they're there for. So I made my peace with it, but doing it in the triple threat match is fucking stupid. Because you get one of three things. Well, one of many things, but it boils down to one of three things. Either one, John Cena goes over John Cena goes over Seth Rollins. They're all still in the Shield together. And Brock Lesnar is, his entire build is sort of faffed away.
You could shop that out to someone else to go fight Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. You mentioned, Kane would have been a good option.
Sure.
To have him avenge the Undertaker or someone else, like Sting. Although it's looking like they're going to do Sting versus Triple H. But it's not. That's a waste. That's a waste. You've built Brock Lesnar up as, this titan. So give the fans his loss at WrestleMania, at the big show.
Well, and even then, give him a fucking fair loss, not he loses his title because somebody else got pinned. Normally that's fine writing, but when Brock Lesnar is a temporary employee, and he is, that's a shitty way to have him drop the belt.
Yeah, someone needs to pin him.
Yes. Option number 2 would be that Cena goes over Brock Lesnar in the triple threat match.
Which is just an utter waste. An utter waste of Brock Lesnar to win over The Undertaker, an utter waste of Brock Lesnar's build thus far, an utter waste of Brock Lesnar's complete clowning of John Cena at SummerSlam, an utter fucking waste, because Cena will never need heat. He's over. He's completely over. He can't ever be unover. It doesn't matter what he does, doesn't matter what he says. He's going to get cheers, he's going to get boos. It's going to happen. He's over. He never needs another push ever again.
But then you bring that element of doubt in there as well, in Seth Rollins. Okay.
Could he have beat him so
yeah.
low?
Yeah. And that's unnecessary, especially when, as I mentioned, Brock Lesnar is a temporary employee. Thing 3 is one of those unlikely cloud scenarios where, Cena goes heel or something, and at this point, that's a stupid idea. But I digress.
At this point, it's also, it's about as likely as me becoming WWE Champion.
But, yeah, I wasn't looking forward to this show. Even less, once I found that out. What else had kind of hit me in the gut was the return of Daniel Bryan. I like him as a person, I like him as a wrestler, but you and I both said, there goes Roman Reigns' push.
Roman Reigns is getting a good, healthy push. The fans were with him. He was over. He was awkward. Not super solid on promos yet, but he has a great look, he has great charisma. He's there. Or he was until Daniel Bryan came back. And every time anything good happened to Roman Reigns that could have instead happened to Daniel Bryan, the fans began booing Roman Reigns. Because Daniel Bryan is their precious babby, and no one else is allowed to have a career anymore, I guess. No one else is allowed to be a face. It has to be Daniel Bryan versus the entire locker room, because if anyone ever has good things happen to them separate from Daniel Bryan, then boo. Boo, that should have been Daniel Bryan. Our precious babby must have it. It's fucking infuriating.
Aside from that, I mean, in terms of storylines and stuff, he was being handed things. I mean, they were setting it up to be like, oh, good, we got Daniel Bryan back. He sells all the tickets, so goodbye, Roman. It was nice having you here.
You were basically our replacement kid for Daniel Bryan, our replacement Goldfish.
And Daniel Bryan was our replacement CM Punk, so this all works out in the end. Because he's not coming back. I made sure of that. So going into this pay-per-view, I wasn't happy. I actually looked up spoilers beforehand. Because I needed something so that I wasn't a shitlord through the whole thing. Because when I'm mad at WWE, I do not do well to watch WWE.
Even if it's good. I've seen him watch, genuinely 4-star, good-ass matches and just shit all over them and find nothing good in them and do nothing but shit on them the entire time.
And, like, that's not me as a person in general. I'm not Mr. Negative Nancy, but specifically when it comes to WWE, I think because alternatives are hard to find and they're not the same. You know what I mean? I mean, I love alternatives. I love Chikara, and there's all kinds of other wrestling promotions out there, but it's not the same.
It's not the E. It's not what we grew up with.
I'm not going to get a video game out of it. If I do, it's not going to be every year with an updated roster. It's not going to have the money behind it, etc., etc. I'm sure nostalgia plays some small part in it as well, but, like, the video game thing is really important to me, and I haven't even bought the latest WWE one. I digress. So, I was all set for John Cena to win. Because that's what I was told.
Yeah.
I was considering replacing this episode's theme music with another Shining Wasato song called Bad Booking Blues. You could go to his website that I mentioned earlier, link in the description, and buy that track if you'd like to find out what it's like. Or just preview it, but if you bought it, that would help out our friend Super Blizzard.
Who was so nice to give us our theme music. For use.
Yes. But I was pleasantly surprised, so I got to go into this pay-per-view not mad. And the pay-per-view itself was actually pretty good. Overall, I'd give it a C+, B-.
Yeah, it seems so.
I think, I want to say B-, but I think that's just like, there was something, someone on the internet said, I want to say it's spoony, but I've said similar things myself. When the crowd chants, "This is awesome," 9 times out of 10, it's only awesome because of the shit they're used to. So I do want to give it a B- right now, but I think if, with some perspective, I'd go, oh no, this is like C+, and S.
Yeah, I would say C+, B-. Both of those are fair. A part of me wants to give it a solid B, just out of pure contrarianism. Because I'm so mad at the fan reaction to this pay-per-view. I'm so genuinely pretty mad at them that, like, I want to go buy another subscription to the WWE Network just to offset some douchebag who's going to cancel.
But let's, real quick, talk about the other matches on the card.
Okay.
Very pleasantly surprised with the New Age Outlaws fighting the new team from NXT, The Ascension. Pleasantly surprised with The Ascension as well.
Yeah. We just have never gotten around to watching NXT.
We should.
We really should. We always say
one of those
should.
times when we're like, shit, what are we going to do for a show this week? We should just watch NXT and talk about what we think of it.
Sold. But it's... They went over the New Age Outlaws. The New Age I knew fucking nothing. I had not watched shit coming up. I hadn't watched the cycle at all. So it was a complete surprise when the New Age Outlaws showed up first thing on the pay-per-view. And the Ascension went over them clean, which was good for them because Billy and Road Dogg winning that match would have been bad. Awful booking. But thankfully they did not, and they're selling the Ascension as just as the fucking Road Warriors. They're the fucking Road Warriors.
Good.
Yeah, good. That's a good gimmick. It's been long enough. Let's use it again.
Yeah, it's nice to see it. With them around, Fandango seems less ridiculous. In a good way.
Yeah, like them and Goldust and Dustbusters, I'm forcing that meme. They legitimize Fandango, like, backward. Legitimize it. Because they're so ridiculously fucking cuckoo and out there that Fandango seems pretty normal by comparison.
I'm glad they decided to rip the Band-Aid off, and I think Bray Wyatt opened that door, because so long we were stuck with every wrestler on our roster as a blue chipper, and then there's Kane. And
Who's
then
just
even
this
then...
weird relic. And The Undertaker shows up every now and again.
So we were in that region for so long. It's nice to come back a bit and see some gimmicks again.
And we'll probably get tired of them because humans are an unpleasable lot. But
I won't.
You probably would eventually, yeah.
In general, well, I mean, bored maybe, not tired. Like in that distant way where I go, I'm not watching WWE right now, but I'm glad you're there. Then the WWE Tag Team Championships were on the line. It was Miz and Damien Mizdow fighting to take the championships from the undefeatable Usos. As the name implies, you cannot beat the Usos.
They are undefeatable, so Miz and Mizdow were defeated.
Really, it was
again because the Miz chose voluntarily to wrestle a handicap match because he so doesn't want the fans to have anything good. No, the fans are cheering you. That means I can never tag you in again, despite the fact that I am now wrestling the Usos 2-on-1.
Yeah, I mean, that was an okay match. It was there to put over the Miz and Mizdow gimmick.
And it did.
And it did. Then we had the Bella Twins versus Paige and Natalya. The Bella Twins went over.
In a complete squash match. Like, they squashed Natalya.
I don't even care about... Like, it's not that AJ Lee is gone for now, if not forever, that bothers me. It's that AJ Lee left, and all of the legitimacy they had carefully built in the Divas division went to the toilet. Like, it's not even like, okay, AJ Lee's gone, let's give the strap to somebody else who's legitimate, like Natalya, or Paige again, or one of the NXT girls that we've bumped up. Like, Flair's daughter.
Who's, Jesus, she's good.
No, nothing like that. It's,
Better strap it to a Bella twin.
Yeah, let's strap it to a Bella. That sounds good. Like, what's the worst possible decision we could make in this area? Give it to Steph, okay? Second worst.
No, that would be great.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Worst possible decision they can make in this area. Give it to Alicia Fox.
That's true.
Okay, second worst, Bella twin. Let's do Bella twin.
Yeah, let's do Bella twin. Whatever, it was a match. I mean, I don't...
It was your piss break match that came weirdly early because everything else from here on out was a main event caliber match.
Yeah. So this brings us literally to the triple threat. The Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Seth Rollins match. For the WWE World Heavyweight Championship of the World Wrestling Federation of Entertainment Championship of the World. Pandas. Title.
There you go.
That joke stopped being funny at World.
And yet you continued.
You're damn right. This was a really, really tight match. This match brought the letter grade of the pay-per-view up decently.
I'm going to be honest. Of all of the John Cena and Brock Lesnar have a fight, the SummerSlam match is my favorite.
Yeah.
I am straight up pointing and laughing at you, John Cena. That is still my favorite, but I'd say this is probably the best match.
Mm-hmm.
Seth Rollins injects so much dynamic energy into this match that it revitalizes the whole gimmick. And I thought that was a shitty addition, but no, he carries his own in a ring with Brock Lesnar, who, as the Paulrus likes to say, and that's with all due love and respect to Paul Heyman, who I do love and respect deeply, Brock Lesnar's a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. The dude's a fucking human cheat code. You've heard me say it on this podcast before. He's a psychotic killing machine. Thankfully, we live in a society where he cannot conquer us all by virtue of being the mightiest. Otherwise, we would be calling him King Brock.
I did I did mention that I thought he was kind of like royalty during our viewing. But I also noticed something else during this match that I maybe should have realized a long time ago, but I did finally realize it now. Seth Rollins, at least in his own head, his gimmick is Draco Malfoy.
As he put it, he mentioned this to me, and I looked at him and was like, what? And this is what, paraphrasing what White said, and I think it works really well. A guy who's completely in over his head. Utterly beyond his depth. And he knows it. But he's here, and he's got to swim with these fucking sharks, so he has to act like he's king shit of Church Mountain. And, yeah, no, when you see him, when you see the bug-eyed way he looks around the ring, when shit's going pear-shaped.
Or when he thinks nobody's watching him.
Yeah, when he thinks nobody's watching him, in air quotes, he'll do things like, oh shit, alright, okay, you can do this, Seth. He even has Crab and Goyle.
Yeah.
And this might be a legitimate thing that he actually thinks, because his finisher in the Indies, the curb stomp, he called it the Avada Kedavra.
Was that him or was that somebody else?
I'm pretty sure that was him.
I'll look it up. Why don't you talk up this match a little bit?
As I said, this was a really good match, and it was a good triple threat match. Normally in triple threat match, what you have is two heels and a face. The two heels will team up for a while, and they'll fight the face, and then they will betray each other, and then they will fight, and then the face wins. What you had in this match was three motherfuckers who all kept trying to kill each other, even when logically one of them should hang back and let the other be murdered, so as it's a one-on-one match and you have better odds. There were so many times when John Cena and Brock Lesnar were fighting like men, and then Seth Rollins would just come and kick them both in the head. Not because it was a good idea, because he could have just hung back, let Brock Lesnar murder John Cena, and then, had a chance against Brock by himself. Or John Cena would, attack Brock Lesnar when he was busy murdering Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is such a fucking fly in the ointment that you probably should let Brock just murder him. And then you can fight Brock, which you are, getting better at.
I thought I remembered this. Yes, he did use it as the name for his finisher, but his finisher was a super kick.
Oh, it was a super kick then?
Yes, it was a low super kick.
I did not know that. I thought it was the curb stomp.
There's
or at least I didn't remember.
No, there's a reason I thought that was the case that has to do with e-fetting. And I can explain it to you later if you want, but the listener's going to be like, so let's not do that to poor Ultimo Dragon. He's bearing with us enough as it is.
And I love that the beginning of this match was the fucking SummerSlam match again, only Brock Lesnar was eating two men instead of one. The match, immediately became Brock Lesnar suplexes each man in turn, and then beats them up for a while, and then suplexes them again.
What I loved is that for a long time, after he, pie-faced Seth Rollins, he stopped suplexing him. You're not worthy of my suplexes, just leave.
He would throw him out of the ring, or he would...
not even a hip toss, just get...
he suplexed him a bunch, and then just decided that Seth Rollins was not worth his... Seth Rollins was a distraction from murdering and eating John Cena again. His favorite bedtime snack.
But, every ounce of this match was really well timed. It wasn't anything overly spectacular, and I think that's what prevents it from being a better match. Also, John Cena was in it. That's what we call a guaranteed troll right there.
Yep.
No, there was anything super special about it. And the ring work was good. Nothing better than good.
Yeah, good.
But the psychology and the storytelling were fantastic.
That's where the match really shined. Eventually, Brock Lesnar is the thing that would not die for the majority of the match. John Cena and Seth Rollins are killing each other and killing Brock Lesnar. They're not teamed up at all, but they are killing Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar just won't stay down.
Well, it's they're trying to wrestle a match, but Brock Lesnar is this force of nature that shows up every now and then.
And just completely fucking destroys both of them for a while.
They're sort of forced to deal with him.
Yeah. So then, eventually, Brock is laid out on the Spanish announce table. Seth Rollins does from the turnbuckles of the Spanish announce table, elbow drop that looks real vicious, and they sell it as Brock's down for a long time after that. It just becomes Seth Rollins versus John Cena. And Brock's down for a long time. They're selling it as he broke, I think they said he broke a rib, and they brought out the stretcher, and they did all that, and John Cena and Seth Rollins are wrestling the fucking match, and it's a good match.
Yeah, lots of near falls.
Lots of near falls.
Nice.
Seth Rollins kicks out of an attitude adjustment. John Cena kicks out of a curb stomp. Seth Rollins kicks out of another attitude adjustment. J&J Security break up an STFU, or whatever he calls it now. I think it's just STF. It's a bunch of near falls, bunch of drama, and then eventually John Cena gets like his 12th attitude adjustment of the match off. There's a really good point. At one point in the match, he attitude adjustments Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar stands immediately back up. So he's all bumbly though, so he attitude adjusts him again. Brock Lesnar stands immediately back up. So he attitude adjusts him again, and then he gets a 2 count.
You gotta do it 16 times, I believe is what you said.
Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins did break up the pin, but even if he hadn't, Brock Lesnar clearly kicked out at 2. It was hilarious. But, at the very end, John Cena gets his 12th or so attitude adjustment of the match off. He looks, he has it in the bag. He's totally got to beat Seth Rollins. And then Brock Lesnar, as if from nowhere, like, teleports into the ring, murders John Cena.
Murders both of them.
Murders John Cena, throws him out of the ring, murders Seth Rollins again, murders Seth Rollins again. So, and then pins Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I mean, and I was happy about that. I was glad.
Yeah, the streak night continues. I believe I said months ago, there's no way Brock Lesnar, unless they're even more off-lit booking than they usually are, there's no way Brock Lesnar loses the title before WrestleMania. And I went into this match because I did not know. I was still under the impression that the spoilers that we had gotten a week or so before that John Cena was going to win were the real thing. So I went in assuming that the worst had occurred and they were really that awful at booking. But no, I was pleasantly surprised by the E. They did the good thing. Brock Lesnar wins clean so he can go to WrestleMania and get beaten there as he should be beaten there.
Yeah, this was the best booking decision you could make out of this match.
And a good match. So kudos to the E. This one was solid.
So that leads us into the Royal Rumble, and
this was a quick Rumble.
Not really.
Well, it felt quick.
It was exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, they went on for like 40, 50 minutes. But we're not going to go elimination by elimination or entrance by entrance. There's a bunch of stuff that sticks out. Bubba Ray Dudley.
Showing up, which was a fucking baffling surprise.
I'm going to look. Why don't you share some stories? I'm going to look and see if anybody is actually back.
Or if they were just, one-off.
Yeah.
Good idea. So, the beginning of the match is pretty well dominated by Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt comes in, eliminates like fucking 5 or 6 dudes, and like he's alone in the ring. The other members of the Wyatt family show up. The one who didn't qualify, the one who's a face now, Rowan. He comes in to fight them, and him and Harper, who's also there, team up. Eventually, he turns on Harper and Bray Wyatt turns on Harper and eliminates him along with another guy. Eliminates a couple people. There's like 3 different instances where the guy will come in and then almost before his music is over, Bray Wyatt has eliminated him. So, I mean, Bray Wyatt had a real strong showing until D-Bry showed up. Daniel Bryan shows up pretty early in the match, actually. But Daniel Bryan did show up, and that led to the eventual bloat that every Rumble has, where, you end up with 9, 10 guys in the ring. Which I think is better than, like, a straight-up Battle Royal. I've always thought this. Straight-up Battle Royals, they start off too ridiculous. It's just a writhing mass of bodies. You can't keep track of fucking anything. But a Rumble, you can cadence it out, which I like. The middle of the Rumble was honestly mostly just a fist fight. Like, there weren't really... Normally what'll happen with a Rumble, at least the last ones I had seen, which have been years ago, because as you know, listener, before the network, we only really watched WrestleMania in terms of pay-per-views. And I hadn't seen a Rumble in literally years, but it seems to my memory that what normally happens is someone will come in the middle of the Rumble and just clean fucking house. We'll swelled up like 10 or 12 people, and they will just completely wipe the fucking slate, except for maybe like 2 other dudes. That didn't really happen here. At least until the very, very end, which, that's when it has to happen one way or another. But there was a pretty steady pace of eliminations throughout.
Yeah, I liked early on. And I don't think you mentioned this when Bubba Ray and the Truth.
Yeah, I didn't. I specifically didn't mention.
Yeah, like Truth. Well, Truth is up on the apron or up on the turnbuckle, and
he's
Bubba
just
Ray's
sort of watching Bubba Ray fight a guy.
I don't even remember who the fuck it was.
Miz, I think.
Probably. And he's on the ground, legs facing the turnbuckle. Bubba Ray looks up and goes, "This is all very familiar to me." So he just pulls up the Miz's legs, and R-Truth is like, "Whatever," and jumps in and headbutts him. Oh, fuck, the headbutt from the last match. The fucking Phoenix headbutt to John Cena's crotch that Seth Rollins pulled off.
You're right. It wasn't John Cena looked like he was about to win. Seth Rollins looked like he was about to win because he did the Phoenix headbutt. He did that Phoenix headbutt to John Cena's penis.
Right? The dingus.
And he looked like he was about to win.
Because John Cena can't have kids anymore.
I'm so used to John Cena winning stuff that I assumed John Cena was about to win. But no, Seth Rollins had that match looked like he had that match in the bag, and then Brock Lesnar showed up and murdered them both 12 times. But yeah, no, that headbutt was impressive. Oh. But yeah, R-Truth does the Devon headbutt, and then...
then they did the 3D.
First they did he looked around, did the bug eyes, and then Bubba Ray hit him in the chest and said, "Truth! Get the tables!" And before they could, Miz got back up, so they did the 3D. And then R-Truth did a drop kick at Bubba Ray. Bubba Ray no-sold the drop kick, and then eliminated R-Truth too.
Yeah, and you're right about the pacing of the match, too. It wasn't the same way they've been doing Battle Royals forever. And you know what? It's actually been a while since they've done a Battle Royal, because we were oversaturated with them in the beginnings of 2014. It was like every fucking day. Hey, Battle Royal, what the fuck? Who cares?
Like a mid-2000s SmackDown tag team match.
Yeah. But later, you did see some of those tropes, and those tropes were there for a reason. People like them. But they kind of inverted some of them, subverted some of them. Big Show came in and everybody ganged up on him. Big Show was like, "Fuck y'all, I do punches." And he and Kane went dumping everyone outside the ring.
He had planned for them all to glom at him, like they normally do, and he had planned for it this time, and he overcame it. He eliminated, pretty much everyone who was left. Can you give me... Actually, I kind of want to go. Who all did Big Show and Kane eliminate?
Oh, man, I don't know if I...
Big Show and Kane.
Ryback, Dean Ambrose, and Dolph Ziggler.
I thought they eliminated Bray Wyatt, too.
Oh, yeah, Bray Wyatt. Sorry, he entered, 5th, so...
Yeah, he lasted a long time. He was in the final group. But yeah, so they tossed...
And Show himself eliminated Jack Swagger.
Yeah. Big Show and Kane team up, and they eliminated a bunch of dudes. Kane, by the way, now holds the record for most total eliminations in Royal Rumbles combined. He beat Shawn Michaels' record this Rumble. I think by 1.
Yeah. Maybe it was 2.
Still. Roman Reigns still holds the record for most eliminations in a single Rumble with 12 from last year. This year, I think he only had 2 eliminations, honestly.
Roman Reigns...
3. I would say, 3.
Yeah, he got Stardust, Rusev, Kane, Big Show, and then him and Ambrose eliminated Titus O'Neil. So he had 5. I liked a lot of the tag team mentality that came in here, because lately they haven't even been paying attention to it. It's like, unless it's the Wyatts, and then they're like a unit, you take them all out at once.
Yeah.
This time they let the team members sort of fight, each other, sort of fight the other guys.
Work together,
sometimes not.
Like Stardust and Goldust did the Royal Rumble is here, so now let's fight each other bit. Stardust tried to eliminate Goldust. Goldust survived, and they fought. Another thing that happened was Rusev and Bray Wyatt formed like a little alliance for a good portion of the match, basically until they were both eliminated. They were working together. You always like to see that. That's a cool Rumble thing to see. And then once Ambrose and Reigns got into the ring, they were the Bash Brothers. They worked together for the rest of the time until one of them was eliminated. And there was even a moment where the only people in the ring were were Reigns and Ambrose, and then Big Show and Kane. And the only people left in the ring. And so, like, Ambrose and Reigns do this thing where they, like, bash their heads together and, like, Bash Brothers. They psych each other up to fight these two giants. It was really cool. Quick run through to the end, I think, would probably be the easiest way, and then we can go back and talk about the Rumble as a whole.
Yeah, and booking from here on out, I think.
Yeah. The end of the Rumble was really cool. I wish you could see this, listener, as we saw it, because I have not often swerved this ridiculously.
Yeah, this was, like, noteworthy.
So, in the end, it's down. This is the final grouping. Kane, Big Show, Ambrose, and Reigns. And they fight, and then Big Show, who's been knocking motherfuckers out left and right, knocks out Ambrose, and they dump him over the side. And then Roman Reigns is, like, doing the fighting back thing. He eventually, he fights back as much as possible, but these two dudes are they're too much. They eventually have him almost over. It was Kane had him almost over, but he hooked Kane with his leg, so it was going to pull Reigns and Kane over. And then Big Show runs in and tries to eliminate Kane so as to get them both, so as he's the winner. Kane survives, Reigns survives. Kane is upset by this. They decide to fight each other, and they eventually end up, like, doing the double goozle. They do a double goozle, and they, like, are trying to chokeslam. Each one's trying to chokeslam the other off the side of the ring. Roman Reigns runs up and he eliminates them both by dumping them over the side. Slowly, because they're two giant motherfuckers, but he does do it. And now, at this point, the fans are fucking thunderously booing. And I'll get to why in a minute.
Because once we get on that train, we're never leaving.
They're thunderously booing Roman Reigns for being the winner. And they start chanting, "We want Rusev. We want Rusev." And I figure it's just them having sour grapes. You know, anyone would be better than Roman Reigns. We're entitled fuckwits. Blah, blah, blah. It turns out, no. After the elimination, Big Show and Kane are like, "Match is over. You want to go kill Roman Reigns?" So they're suddenly their buddies again. They go to murder Roman Reigns, and the fucking Rock shows up. He comes in, kills Big Show and Kane with Roman Reigns' help, and then leaves. Like, he heads to the outside, just to sort of be on the outside. By the way, he got cheers the second he started helping Roman Reigns. Back to boos. The fucking Rock was getting thunderous boos because he was helping Roman Reigns. Then Rusev comes up. Rusev had rolled out into the bottom ring like 15 minutes earlier.
And we noticed.
I even said, there's Rusev doing the sneaky bottom rope roll out. He'll be back. And then they sold the rest of the match so ridiculously fucking well, we both forgot. Even when the fans started chanting, "We want Rusev," neither of us made the connection until Rusev, like, popped up like the slasher villain at the end of the movie. And went, "Rah!" And he ran at Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns did his thing, eliminated him, and then Roman Reigns wins. The Rock comes into the ring, celebrates with Roman Reigns a bit, holds up his hand, and the crowd is unanimously booing. Loudly and fucking vociferously. Half the crowd is flipping off the ring. And The Rock gets this look on his face like, what the fuck is going on here? But Roman Reigns wins. Shall we get into what the fuck was going on there?
We're going to go into rant mode. Once again, I want to reiterate, I feel like this is a good pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It's a good start to the new year. I don't think it's going to hold. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm just trying to be realistic as...
Oh, the WWE will find a way to fuck this up.
the WWE will find a way to fuck this up one way or the other. But...
They always do.
But this was at least decent booking.
They're like
they came out of the Rumble.
They're like your drug addict uncle.
Yeah.
Sometimes he does cool stuff, but like he'll find a way to fuck it up.
They'll do something stupid, but for now, they've got a nice slate to work with.
Great start to a new year. Great way to push a new strong face. All that. Here's the problem. No one's allowed to have a career except Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan has to be the champion forever. He has to win every match. Otherwise, cancel WWE Network. Unsubscribe. I hate WWE. CM Punk was right. Hashtag. The internet riots anytime Daniel Bryan doesn't completely win a match clean. It's made me wish Daniel Bryan wasn't back. And I'm really fucking mad about that. Because I like Daniel Bryan. I like Bryan Danielson. I liked Bryan Danielson when he was an indie wrestler. The American Dragon's an incredible talent. And the fans have become so completely entitled about their right to see whoever they're cheering for at the moment always be successful in every venture. They have become so completely fucking entitled about it that they're making me regret Daniel Bryan coming back to wrestling. And I'm really, really mad about that, listener.
Coming in with less passion. Because I don't get as upset at the fans as you do.
You don't.
Like, classically speaking, when you were mad at them about chanting at CM Punk, I was not as mad.
When I was mad at them chanting CM Punk after CM Punk took his ball and went
Yeah, you weren't the salt. Or, you were the salt, I was not the salt. I was pepper at best. I like to take a step back and I like to look and see what's going on. Now, partially the WWE is to blame. But that part is small. Because this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we called a swerve before Vince Russo showed up. Here's this dude who's coming back up off of a great recovery. Oh my god, he's not dead and he can wrestle again. Remember the face? The face we all loved? Great, he's here. That means he can return to his rightful place at the top of the throne as he should be, because that is the status quo. Oh no! The status quo got shuffled!
He got eliminated early in a surprise elimination by Bray Wyatt, who finally managed to get boos, by the way. They were half cheering Bray Wyatt like they always do. Then he eliminated Daniel Bryan, and he got nothing but boos for the rest of the match.
Shit, for a while, everything got boos.
No matter who came in, no matter what face was doing well, it was just a solid wall of never-ending boos. They stopped counting down the new entrants. They just would not stop booing. They started chanting Daniel Bryan, like somehow they were going to throw such a hissy fit that they were going to be like, fine, we'll retcon it, he's back in the Rumble now. That's what it is. That's why this makes me mad. The fans threw a hissy fit.
They kind of did. I mean, the WWE dangled the carrot, but that's what they do. Why are you mad that you have purchased what you intended to purchase? And where have you been? Daniel Bryan's entire build was being the underdog. Fuck, Cole called him the underdog at least twice in this match.
Just fucking... And this is how I know I'm not an internet smart, ladies and gentlemen. This is how I know. Because that reaction, that childish, entitled, well, they didn't do what I want, so I'm going to cancel forever. That's douchebaggy. They're putting over a new talent. It's not like fucking John Cena went over again.
No, and in fact, most of that Rumble, and you mentioned this at one point, there was no mid-2000s talent in the ring. And there wasn't, again, until Kane got in the ring, and then later when the Big Show finally got in the ring.
It's just, the talent was almost all new guys, fresh faces, the new generation. Why are you fuckers mad?
That's what
This is
gets
what
me.
you've been asking for years, and you're mad because the specific member of the new generation you like the best isn't going over in this particular moment?
That's where I get confused, because are you new? And the answer to that question might be yes, but dude, this is wrestling. Stone Cold didn't always win.
Sometimes he lost the Rumble. He did not win every one he was in.
Sometimes every single fucking Cinderella story doesn't go, exactly like a Cinderella story. Sometimes...
Because if they all did, it would be fucking boring.
I mean, and this is the exact kind of thing they criticize the WWE for. You know, not pushing new talent, not giving new guys a chance, you know, playing favorites, etc., etc. And of course everybody's going to twist this to say, oh, well now they're playing favorites with Roman Reigns. Because you can't fucking please some people.
Look, yeah, Cena lost. Cena didn't get pinned, but Cena wasn't even involved in the decision of his match. Okay? He was losing when that decision came down. Cena didn't win, lol. Can you think of an established, older star who won a match this night? The Bella Twins.
I mean, if you want to call them established older stars.
Technically,
they're as old as Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to think about it that way, then, yeah, the new blood won.
The even newer blood won. Why are you fuckers mad? This is what you've been asking for years. They're pushing a solid, new talent up the roster. And lo and fucking behold, a guy was getting a push. He had been, they had decided they were going to push him, obviously we're heading towards WrestleMania with him. And then the unexpected former star comes back from what was assumed to be a career-ending injury. And they don't immediately shit on the younger guy in favor of the more established known ticket seller.
I mean, that's
literally what you've been asking them to do. And because it's the guy you loveums and he's your precious babby, now you're mad.
I didn't get Daniel Bryan's push that much to begin with. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I didn't like him, or that I wasn't excited when he came out, especially in the middle of his face run. Is his big one last year. But I wasn't on board. I wasn't on Team D-Bry, as it were. You can attest to this. Yeah. I believe you mocked me for it.
Yeah,
as is your wont.
I mock him for almost everything.
I mean, the sensations I've been pulling for have been Bray Wyatt and the Goldust and Stardust.
Bray Wyatt got a great push out of this Rumble.
Bray
he looked
Wyatt
real
did.
Strong and finally got booze, which is what he wants. He wants booze.
Bray Wyatt did incredibly, and I'm excited to see what happens with Bray Wyatt. I'm sure it'll go tube-shaped, but
it always ends up going tube-shaped, but for a while it'll be fun.
I mean, I guess that's my dog in this race, is Bray Wyatt and his ilk. That's the thing I was most excited to see when I started watching WWE again. That's what got me into WWE again, was Bray Wyatt.
Specifically.
I was watching him and this guy. So, I guess I mean, should I have the same sour grape? Should I be canceling my subscription? Because, listener, you've been with us for a while, alright? There's a lot of pay-per-views that went fucking poorly. You have to remember how pissed off I was about how they've treated Bray Wyatt over the last 6 to 8 months. Because it was build, and now we're done with you. And now you may be a poop.
How mad I was. The WrestleMania pay-per-view. Remember that, listener? Remember how mad I was about that series of events? And I've made my peace with it. Ultimately, if Roman Reigns, a young, fresh talent, who, admittedly I'm a little biased, I'm a fan of the kid. I don't think he's ready to be a world champion. I don't think he's ready to be the guy.
Like I said, he's got 3 months.
And apparently The Rock is willing to be associated with him now, so...
And you know what? I think after a bit, they'll be able to... I think they can do damage control on this. Yes, even the current WWE. Fans do not have that degree of capacity to be butthurt. It didn't help that they were in one of the small sections of Bizarro World. So the fans are smarter and harder to throw fairy dust at. I'm sure there's some kids out there that's going to be, if not the next show, the one after that are like, yeah, Roman Reigns.
And I hope so, better. Because
they'll trot out guys like Rock and Bryan, and they'll give speeches and be like, yeah, Roman Reigns,
It's just, I don't know, I honestly don't know that Reigns is ready, but he's a young, new talent. Daniel Bryan would have been just as good.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, would have been just as good. Dean Ambrose would have been just as fine. Bray Wyatt would have been just as fine. Seth Rollins being champion would be great.
Not in that match.
Not in that match. At WrestleMania, it would have been great. It's just fucking new talent. They're putting over new talent. The thing you fucking internet douchebags have been asking them to do demanding that they do in strident, nerdlinger voices, which I refuse to do at this moment because there are people asleep in this house. And you're mad. And you're mad because it wasn't your precious baby. You unpleasable cocks.
We're kind of screaming into a vacuum here, and I'm aware of that.
Yeah, listener, I'm sure you're not this guy. If you were, you'd have turned off this podcast a long time ago.
Yeah, at the beginning, when you got the inkling that who are we kidding? They're internet nerds. I mean, we are also internet nerds, but we're not as angry, damn it. I strive to be reasonable, even when I'm furious.
This is probably the second angriest the listeners ever heard me. It's just... I don't mind you not being happy with the results.
You're perfectly entitled to be unhappy with the results.
If you don't like Roman Reigns, I can even get behind that opinion. His promo work is pretty weak. His matches are usually pretty paint by numbers because he's new and he's not even as established because, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins were established indie guys. Roman Reigns isn't. He's from the WWE farm system. He has not had as many years to hone his craft, so he's rougher around the edges. If you think that is not worthy of him being in the main event of WrestleMania, I can completely understand and even agree with that sentiment to a certain extent. I'm sorry, them pushing new talent is not a reason to cancel your subscription.
And that's what really hurts in the end. This is what's going to hurt in the end. Because the WWE is taking a risk. The thing that would benefit them the most throughout the entirety of last year, after all of their wrestlers went kablooey, would have been taking better risks. And they refused to because they were scared. So they take a risk and you immediately shit in their mouth over it.
And tell them you're going to cancel your subscription. You know what this leads to? This leads to Cena getting the title back. This leads to Cena 17 times.
And whatever. If you're a Cena fan, okay, so then it leads to revolving between Cena, Orton. Orton's my other dog in this race, but he's gone right now. Big Show, one of the Authority members, Kane.
And then Daniel Bryan, probably.
Sure.
Because he's an established moneymaker at this point. If you want them to continue to take risks and push new talent, if you want to see Cesaro get a push, support Roman Reigns. Because someone has to open that door. They're not going to push new talent if you keep shitting in their mouth every time they do.
I mean, that's the long and short of it.
If you want to see Cesaro get a push, if you want to see Bray Wyatt get that meteoric push he so fucking richly deserves, if you want to see, Kenta show up and be the guy Kenta deserves to be, support Roman Reigns. Because he's the first of this new brood through the door after Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan, the WWE could easily write off as being a fluke. You have to be willing to support new talent if you want them to push new talent.
Well, and this is one of the dangers of operating in a world of social media. This backlash is so thunderous. And the WWE, while they're no longer in panic mode, have been known to make stupid fucking decisions. We are aware they do not book but 4 minutes in advance.
This might be enough to get them to derail this and end up throwing Daniel Bryan into the main event with Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar and having Daniel Bryan take the win, which is perfectly fine. But why you gotta show over Roman Reigns' push?
Well, no, I mean, at this point it's not fine, because,
someone needs to conquer Brock Lesnar. Someone needs to beat him.
That, and it's at the expense of somebody else, regardless of who it is.
Yeah. And you know what? I mentioned this before the podcast. I bet no one feels shittier about Daniel Bryan's career making it so that other people aren't allowed to have careers anymore. Everything must happen for Daniel Bryan first at everyone else's expense. I bet no one feels shittier about that than Daniel Bryan. Because he's a genuinely very good guy. And him being so over has very obviously negatively affected another guy's career who's just trying to be a face. So obviously that The Rock couldn't get cheers for him tonight.
Which has happened all of one other time. In the history of things.
Since The Rock became what The Rock is, The Rock hasn't been able to get over one other thing. He got John Cena more cheers than he got Roman Reigns.
So, we don't have long left in the podcast, and I'm eager to see this one off. But I would like to, because it's a bad cloud, I'd like to put it behind me. The pay-per-view is fine, but...
This is a good pay-per-view, and I'm going to stand by that.
Yeah,
because
good start to the year. Sometime this week, I'm going to watch Raw. If you drag me into it, I'll watch tomorrow night. But I'd like a breath.
Yeah. It might be Tuesday night. We will watch Raw.
But yeah, you've got my fucking dollar.
You got my eyeballs. You haven't. Your last pay-per-view lost you my eyeballs for a month. This pay-per-view got it back. You have one Raw. If you're listening, please, not even impress me. Just don't piss me off again.
Well, as we've discovered, I am the voices in Randy Orton's head. So, Randy Orton, hello. First, dance like a king snake.
Good,
thank you. Now, if you could let someone in WWE management know, listen to the latest episode of the Two Nerds podcast. If you could, like, comment, and subscribe. And then do the things we said to do, and don't do the things we said not to do. Love and kisses, the demons. But yeah, going forward, there's so much potential, I don't even want to begin to speculate. And there's so much potential to fuck it up.
God, yes.
Like, I don't want to lay out a golden road, and they're like, uh-oh, for the first time in forever, we should listen to what the fans say. So I'm not going to bother. Raw's going to happen. We'll see what goes on from there. I think that'll paint the rest of this bent. I'm sure you'll hear about it as I play First Ones with Whitey some point this week. I'm sure I will discuss what went down on Raw and what it made me feel like.
I was thinking, they could work this. Push Roman Reigns. Push him through the moon for this entire 3 months. Let the fans boo him as much as is humanly possible. Then have him beat Brock Lesnar with the authorities' help. Ask The Rock. It worked for him.
You know what? That's a good observation. And on that note, I think we can safely attest that
everything's better when nerds talk about it.
Fuck it, let's get hardcore!